Welcome to the Hundredth Monkey Radio with Tom and LFE. We are recording this on May 16th of 2016. And, it's been an interesting month. At the beginning of this month, I told you about it at work. At the beginning of this month, I think it was the 1st or the 2nd, driving into work, there was something that shot across the sky. I thought I could have swore it was like a meteor that was coming down, and it looked like it hit ground. It had to have been, within 10 or 15 miles of where I was. I mean, I know it's hard to really gauge, distance and stuff when that kind of stuff, but man, it sure looked like it sure like it went all the way to the ground, just right over the horizon from where I was. So that one just kind of really got my interest peaked and my eyes to the sky. And as you guys all know out there, we've been pursuing this alien and UFO card and trying to tie that into all the work that we've done in the last couple of years on our own personal growth and our collective growth and consciousness and spirituality aspects. And we're tying in that alien and UFO card now. And how appropriate for that thing to come flashing through the sky right in the middle, right when we're beginning really digging into this aspect of our growth.
Look up.
Yeah. So in light of that, we decided we were going to go back and talk to one of our good friends and friend of the show from day one. As a matter of fact, he was our very first guest on the 100th Monkey Radio. And we're bringing James Gilliland back. As you guys all know, and if you, by some strange coincidence or anomaly, don't know who James Gilliland is, there is a bio in the little info tab right below wherever you happen to be listening to this at. And you can find him and his website at eceti.org. Or on YouTube, I think it's ECETI Starlight, is that right? ECETI Stargate
official site.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So ECETI Stargate on YouTube, just a ton, and he's got just probably one of the largest collections of UFO video out there, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
I know LFE and I both have spent some time over there at the ECETI Ranch and have both had our own experiences and seen some pretty amazing stuff there. Some pretty amazing just personal experiences while at the ranch also. And James, I want to welcome you back to the 100th Monkey Radio.
Yay!
Hey, glad to be back.
Yeah. So, it's been a couple of years since we've had you on the show, James, and there's a lot going on good old terra firma here, and these last couple of years, there's been some amazing shifts in the collective consciousness in relation to who and what we are, number one. But now it seems like the ground is fertile for a more open and balanced approach to this whole topic, the whole alien and UFO topic. What are you sensing out there from the general public?
Well, it's long overdue, and there's been so many sightings. It's just off the charts right now. There's so many ships appearing all over the world globally that I've always told people disclosure is going to come from the skies, and it is. It's happening now. But, unfortunately, a lot of the UFO community doesn't acknowledge the spiritual counterpart to this and the aspect of it. And that's why they failed miserably to have contact or have any understanding of who they are. They're still trying to prove that they exist, and they're still looking back, at Roswell and things like that. But, we've already gone far beyond that. We know they exist. We know whose ships are whose, and we know the different cultures, the different races that are here, and their agendas, so we've gone far beyond all that. But it's sad, but unfortunately, there's a good old boy network out there that just wants to keep all that censored, and keep everybody, in the past and focused on nuts and bolts.
People kind of get stuck in a little bit of a circle there, also with that stuff. if anybody seriously digs into the UFO and alien topic, they inevitably come across the spirituality and consciousness aspects of the whole thing. And then it just seems like there's a very strong energy out there that tries to push people right back to the beginning point in the nuts and bolts circle.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain type thing,
Yeah, and also the religions have a program too where they don't acknowledge it. I've talked to people that are, they're yogis. They teach yoga and they know all the Sanskrit and the words and the different chakras and stuff like that. But they go, what do UFOs have to do with yoga or spirituality? And they have this real smug attitude. And I said, have you read your your Vedic scriptures or the Vedas or anything? I said, it's replete throughout there. All your ancient ancestors, they had their ships and they gave very, complete descriptions of them, how they're powered, what kind of ships they were, what kind of weapons they had, and great wars that were fought with ships, So it's just like, all of your gods had their ships, even throughout the Bible. It's replete throughout the Bible if you know how to read it and know where to look. Yep. But they just don't look there. It's amazing.
Right. I was sitting here a couple of months ago, and I was thinking about this whole thing and the disclosure end of things, and asking myself the question, why in the hell don't we, I was having one of those frustrated moments where I was there sitting there going, how come they don't land on the White House lawn? Why aren't they coming here and just making themselves so readily apparent and visible for all to see? How come they don't park their ship over Seattle for a week so that there's no denying it? And then I thought a little bit deeper and I thought, well, if I really think about it, there's a lot of different aspects to this whole thing. I thought about the embedded aliens or
breakaway
civilization that is reported to be out there that may be living right underneath our feet. And then I thought about, then we have the shadow government or the breakaway civilization, right? Our current culture that has taken, the crashed craft and back engineered and built our own things and are now flying around there and shooting stuff down just because, we have that, it's ours. We're the biggest guys in the schoolyard. That's my football thing. And then there's the craft that are flying from other planets and other dimensions. And when I looked at it in that light with those three primary groups, it really dawned on me at that point. Said, well, I can really understand why they wouldn't park their ships over a city for an extended period of time. They'd have the black project stuff you shoot. Well, maybe they can't even get through the atmosphere with some of this stuff because of HARP and what did Reagan call that? Star Wars, right? Yeah. Our defense net. So anyways, I kind of like to get your opinion on, and let's start with that, what do you call it, the ancient civilization?
Breakaway civilization.
Okay. Yeah. Well, basically we do have, we have our, Area 51. Everybody knows about that, where they've been back engineered things, and Wright-Patterson, where they took a lot of the crash sites and things like that. And they supposedly we have enough crashed vehicles, UFOs and parts out there to fill a whole football field stadium, so, there's a lot of hardware out there.
Yeah. Well,
so go ahead.
Oh. Well, one question for that I'm thinking is that if these beings have the ability to travel from one star system to another star system, how would they crash land?
Well, because they don't all get along, so they've been shooting each other down and having little skirmishes. We've had that happen over the ranch here. We had a reptilian ship come in and to mess with us. Then a Palladian ship stepped in and hit it with a big blue flash of light, a beam, and it just turned into powder. Just disappeared. But I mean, there's other ones that happen where some were just pilot air. It's a different atmosphere here. They're not used to lightning and storms and things like they may not have that on their planet. There's a lot of different elements out there that can affect, the craft. And then, from my understanding, from the highest levels I talked to, is a lot of the Roswell stuff happened because over there in White Sands and those other areas, we were testing these massive radar units out there, and we did one of those things where we accidentally crossed the beams, and did something that really wreaked havoc on their navigational systems, and two ran into each other, because they're flying blind through all the. I mean, that's a massive amount of energy they're putting out there.
Yeah.
They just, they're not always prepared. They're running into things that they've never even seen before. That may not exist on their planet, and so, but still, I have the same thing. Why would somebody, thousands of years ahead of us, crash, and why would they, and things like that. But, we've been back engineering technology for quite some time and been shooting at them. We've been trying to shoot a lot of them down and steal the technology. But unfortunately, that's the way our history is that, the program is shoot them down, steal the technology, get one up on the other fictitious enemies that they've created down here.
Mm-hmm.
And, whoever owns the skies and has the highest technology has the whole card, above everybody else.
King of the hill.
Yeah. And so that's basically what we've been doing.
Yeah. So when I'm saying a breakaway civilization, I'm thinking in regards to a civilization that evolved prior to where we are now, and then for some reason, either they came from, the hollow earth, or they went to the hollow earth from there. But, how much of this stuff that we're seeing and that we're experiencing comes from this breakaway civilization that, exists?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of them aren't really breakaway. They're still here, and they're still interfacing with our world. We just don't know about it. And unfortunately, a lot of the negative ones have been interfacing with the Illuminati and the banksters and those guys, but that's being cleaned up as we speak. There were the ancient Atlantean and Lemurian, and they had their ships, and they went under during the cataclysms, and so they maintained their technology. And so you've got that group, and you have some other very ancient groups that have technology that were here, living on the interior way before even the Atlanteans and Lemurians went under to survive the cataclysms. So, even the elven beings and things like that, they have their technology, and it's more of a Merkaba or a plasma type technology where they are the ship.
Right,
four or five of them join together and travel. In more of a Merkaba.
So are some of these beings, are they actual physical 3-dimensional beings, like, in these meat suits that we carry around, or are they, higher dimensional entities?
It's all the above. There are some walking right among us, and you wouldn't know the difference between them and somebody else, other than most of them are very genetically refined. They're very beautiful. Some might be a little taller than usual, and you'd maybe recognize them, from their energy signature. If you're sensitive, you would feel them, and you'd put a thought on them, and they'd turn around and look at you.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I've met a few really beautiful people in my life that were so strikingly beautiful inwardly and outwardly that it made me stop in my tracks. So I'm sure I've came across a few of them in my path. That one question I have about that culture, the ones that have been here for a long time and that have gone into hiding, for lack of a better term, it baffles me, and I just don't quite understand they would take the posture of being hidden and not being a very active guide for the development and evolution of surface dwellers.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because some are staying hidden just for their own protection because there are, as I said before, there are negative elements with that working within our government and within certain agencies and things like that. And they definitely are going to remain hidden because, you know who they were right away. You big reptilian walks down the street, people probably grab their guns and take care of business, So, some of those guys would be right away, or even a gray or something. So they're going to remain hidden because of that. And then you have other ones that are staying hidden from them, and also our reaction, because we do react in a very primitive manner. Most times we fear the unknown and we fear change, and there's a lot of religious programming, and everything out of the ordinary becomes the devil or something. It's like there's just a lot of nonsense going on here that makes it hard for them to function or live within our society.
Right. Have you ever asked the question of why there wasn't a more open role from any of your contacts on out of any of those three groups, on why there wasn't a more open role and open contact through our development throughout history?
Well, there's several reasons. One is, if, let's say you're in military intelligence or whatever, how are you going to explain the fact that there's ships coming and going and we can do nothing about it, and they can snag us at any time? And, you're not really doing your role as protector, and it's kind of hard to admit that, there's nothing you can do about this, that these beings are so advanced. But, if they were intelligent, they would actually make a pact and align with the more benevolent ones, and that would take care of business with the lower level ones that they have made agreements with, So there's all different kinds of things going on there. That'd be almost a book in itself.
Right. Well, when I look back, let's say, let's go back 6,000 years, or 10,000 years, whenever the flood was, shortly after the flood, say the water's all receded, mankind is starting to go forth and multiply once again. At that point, there was some decision made on what the future for planet Earth and the surface dweller was going to be. Now, the only thing, in light of in my deep contemplations, the only thing that I've been able to come up with that made any sense to me was that it was a decision on a higher level to make this a soul forge, so to say, where we forge our souls here and we go through that cosmic school of hard knocks to refine our spirits better. Now, I'm curious if that resonates with you or anything along those lines is the way you see why we have developed the way we did.
Boy, that's interesting. That is part of it, but it goes much deeper than that. And my trip to Australia just totally verified, what I've written about, and the other things. They actually added more to it. But I was hanging out with some of the elders there, and Brendan Murray, he's Ulukai Brendan Murray, he's king of the Raven tribe, and some other ones there. And I was having all kinds of mystical things happen in Uluru and things like that. And, seeing their spirits and their beings and things and talking to them about it. And when I did, they really opened up. And, I thought it was amazing because they started showing me, what really happened in the ancient history. And all of our history books are wrong, basically.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But what happened is everything originated, well over 450,000 years ago in Australia, not Africa. And from that point on, the Pangea, when all the continents started dividing and things like that, a long time ago, then different races were, came here and came there, and we were colonized by 12 different star nations. But the first Anunnaki, which were the ancient Lyrians, came to Australia, and they found an Aboriginal, which means the original people here, and they were like knuckle draggers. And I think there's two groups, and I always the Denazen, I always say it wrong. I'll have to look up and write that down. One guy, and then like the Neanderthal guy, there was two groups that they were tinkering with and adding their genes to it. And so what happens, the elders took me to this rock, this massive rock, and it had all these hieroglyphs on it. And so at the top of the rock had star glyphs, which told the real story of Earth from the very beginning, when the colonies came here and things like that, and how they upgraded, added their DNA to the humans and things like that. And then there's a second coming, which was the Palladian colonies of Atlantis and Lemuria, which were the second comings. And so it's kind of interesting because when you look at that, it's written in stone right there. And then the story is talking about two pharaohs two brothers that came to Australia to get the knowledge because they lost the knowledge. And so they came back to get the knowledge. And one was, they tried to steal it and take it back to Egypt. And one of them got bitten by a poisonous snake and died. And the other one died in a shipwreck. So they never went back with it. But it tells the whole story. And they had Egyptologists come out and decipher this whole thing. But when you read this story, you're going, wow, wait a second, this is a whole different story. And then you find out that everyone on this planet has Aboriginal genes. We all do. And then we're a mix of 12 other star nations as well. But the other thing too is the gold in Egypt, all the gold in Egypt came from Ballarat, which is Australia.
Wow.
And the Africans are actually newcomers. They're newbies, compared to the Aboriginal people. So, according to the genome experiment, everything else, the gold, the hieroglyphs that are written on these stones, it all points to this. The story is that actually, the original things happened in Australia, and then they went out from there, and the Aboriginal people have the real story, and they're releasing it now.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think I'm familiar with that rock that you're talking about. I've seen something on the internet about it anyways. It really kind of reminds me of maybe a spin that ended up being the Enlil and Enki story.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the same thing. But there's more to the story, and it goes a lot further back, than Africa. And so, I mean, a lot of people have been out there. I know Peter Maxwell, if you go to his slide, if you go to esetiaustralia.org, you can see a documentary on there where we show the glyphs and talk about, and we have the elders come on and talking. And it's a really good documentary, and it covers all this. But it's just starting to come out. Ancient Aliens just went out there. We already released it a while back, but now Ancient Aliens is coming out there, and I was supposed to meet up with them, but it never. There's just some weird stuff going on there,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Hollywood. It didn't happen, because of various reasons. But anyway, to make a long story short, that they'll probably come out with this information, and when they do, it's gonna really rattle all the history books.
Yeah. So with these 12 star nations that came here and mixed their DNA with our DNA, or with the knuckle dragger DNA.
Yeah.
Were these beings physical, like third dimensional beings, or third dimensional physicality like we are? Were there ships, made of solid metals and that kind of things, or were these higher dimensional beings that traveled with their consciousness, so to speak?
Well, the way it sounds historically, it sounds like they had ships, and they were powered, they were noisy, when they landed, and they had some kind of thrusters on them and things like that. So they, I don't know if they were fuelless or not, but they had ships, and they seemed to be physical. They're interacting with everybody. But now most of them, what I found out is like the Annunaki story, they fell, and they were interacting with humans on a physical level, and they fell, and the ones that stayed here really messed things up, and they got into turf wars and feuds and start even using nuclear weapons on each other. And they went to different cultures, like the same beings. The Greek gods were the same beings. The Anunnaki were the same beings that came out to be the Greek gods and everything else. And the stories all fit, with that. So, and a rebellion, between the Ijiji, the workers who were pretty advanced, and the Anunnaki. Just all those stories. When you know the real history and you look at the old stories, you go, oh, that was this epic. That's when this happened. That's when that happened, and it all ties in together.
Right. You see definitely can see things in a different light.
Yeah. Like you had a good example is Zeus. Zeus was actually Enlil, which was the wrathful god. He was the general, the defeated general. He was pissed, and he did not want the experiment to continue. He wanted humanity to be erased off the planet. And then you had Enki, the creator god. He was the all-loving god, and he loved his creations and wanted them to continue, and he kept upgrading them, giving them more and more of the DNA. And so, till he got to the first Adam, which was a very tall being, very good-looking, very tall being. So it all ties into those stories, but there's just more to the stories. People go, "You're taking my religion, my Bible away," and I said, "No, I'm just clarifying it."
Right.
And adding to it.
Yeah. History aside, let's kind of bring it into modern day a little bit now. I mean, there's a lot to be gleaned from our history and a deeper understanding of the true history on this planet, granted. But when I look out the door right now and see the way humanity is shifting and the way we're changing and the energy that is coming into planet Earth right now is shifting and changing and I consider we talked about those three primary groups that we were talking about: the off-worlders, the in-worlders, and the shadow worlders. Okay,
yeah,
there we go. Okay, I look at those three elements and I try to bake this all into my own personal development, my own personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask, where if I want to really grow myself, if I want to do what's the best and highest good for myself, and which area do I look at, or should I try to have that broad, expansive view and try to encompass all of those groups into my view?
Yeah, I would. To me, enlightenment means to be in knowledge of, and it means to be in knowledge of the good, the bad and the ugly, but, everything in between. And so there's a lot of people that deal in half-truths, and they said God is love and everything is love and I'm in love, and I'm only going to do love and that's it. Well, that's good for you, but, you've got, 7.5 billion other people creating a different reality, which might overlap yours,
Right.
And the same thing in the universe. Yeah, we have a saying, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent, So to me, it's like we have to educate ourselves as to, our true history, our part in this, and who's who in the multiverse, and then we can make informed decisions on where we're going in the future.
It's a little challenging to do in the environment out there because each one of those groups and the people that are out there talking about those groups, they seem kind of myopic. They kind of they focus on their primary genre, whichever one that is, whether it's the inner earther, the outer earthers, or the shadow earthers. They tend to focus on that topic alone and damn the rest of them, or they just kind of completely block it out of their world paradigm, and it really and the people who are doing the legwork, that are trying to grow for themselves and learn about their own histories and what's really going on here, are really affected by that, and it's a real challenge to to listen to some of these people and keep an open mind and keep a mind mindful of the big picture when you're digging into these things.
Well, you have the religious program, and as I said before, if it doesn't fit into their concept of the Bible, and most of them haven't even read the Bible, they just heard whatever was told to them in church. But if it goes beyond their understanding, it goes into the black, the dark, the demonic and devil situation, which is sad. And then you have, the people that know it's all back engineered, German technology that you're being messed with, and then you have people, it's all black ops. It's all secret space fleet stuff and black ops, and they're using mind control on you, and you think you're having a beautiful experience, but you're not,
Right.
And then you have the other people that are having these amazing spiritual, multidimensional experiences, and it's just awesome. And, they're having a good old time, with it. And then, and all the other guys are coming down on them saying you're nuts, you're this and you're that, so, and then you got time travel too. So you've got that situation going. You got the time travel thing happening as well. And so basically you've got all that, but people don't realize it's all the above.
Right.
It's not just one thing. You can't pigeonhole it into one thing. And so you have these people that are actually fighting, amongst themselves, saying it's this and it's this and it's this, and it's like the elephant. They all got a piece of the elephant, and it's like the three blind men, trying to describe the elephant. One grabbed his trunk and the other one grabbed his leg and one grabbed his side, and they're all trying to tell everybody what the elephant looks like.
Right.
And, if they all talked together and cooperated, they'd probably have a much better picture of the elephant. But unfortunately, that just doesn't happen, especially in the spiritual and UFO community. Everybody's too busy defending their reality, or they have a group, or they've written a book or something, and they're trying to say this is it and this is the end all,
They got a stake in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with me, I'm flexible. If a higher truth comes in or more knowledge comes in, I share it. And a lot of times it'll undo some old knowledge that was there. I go, okay, I got to look at this differently. So I bring it out. And I feel truth doesn't need defending. Just keep doing the research, keep looking into things and see where it goes.
Right. So let's talk about the inner earthers, ones that have been here for a long time. What cultures are you aware of, and what races are you aware of that are residents of planet Earth?
Well, you've got the ancient Lemurians, and the Pleiadian. I mean the Pleiadian colonies of Atlantis and Lemuria.
Those are humanoid, right? More, a lot like us, right?
They went under during the floods, and in some areas on the inner Earth, everything is preserved. Even a lot of the mythological life forms are still preserved on the inner Earth. Even the dinosaurs and things, they still have those, and they control them with their minds. So it's not a problem, but it's just a big biological zoo down there in some areas. And you've got a lot of the Atlanteans and Lemurians, and then you have a group that's more etheric. They're not totally physical, that lives down there, that have been there forever. And you've got some really small people, or beings that are very small. They're only like 3 feet tall or at the most. And then you've got some 8 foot tall plus giant beings that are down there. And there's other areas that are almost like spaceports, where they're interfacing with the galactic family. And so you've got the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, the Sirians, and other beings interfacing with them down there. And it's a multidimensional experience going on, because it's not just physical. You have like fifth dimensional elves and things like that,
right,
down there going on. And, they'd be non-physical to you if you're in the third dimension, but there's a whole different multidimensional reality going on the inner Earth.
So would you say that the lion's share of the beings that are in the inner Earth are humanoid type, or I don't know, I guess
come from this planet?
Come from this planet, yeah.
Yeah, I would say they're humanoid, but some are very much different than us. They're bipedal, they have an opposable thumb and everything else, but some have fur, some
Mm-hmm.
some are felines, there's all kinds of different beings down there.
Wow. Wow.
Some little Yodas down there. There's a creature down there that looks a lot like Yoda.
Does he talk like him too?
It doesn't talk. It's kind of a gold color, and it has the same ears and everything. It lives in the trees. They live in the trees, but they're very powerful mentally. You don't want to make eye contact with them, because they'll just like mesmerize you, take you over. But there's just all kinds of things down there that are pretty amazing.
Yeah. So when you said there's bipedal furry humanoids, I tend to think that you might be talking about like a Sasquatch type of being.
Yeah, they're there. They're cruising around here. You guys know Clyde Lewis, right? With Ground Zero.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was here, and he was out there, and he brought his engineer out, and he got all the heavens above sites and the J track and everything to prove that, and he says, I want you to let me know. He goes, keep it discreet, but let me know, when we see a ship, something comes over, you tell me whether it's a satellite or not, look it up. And so he's sitting there, he's going, not a satellite, not a satellite, not, over and over again. Nope, not a satellite, and it was hilarious watching that. And then he came out in the morning, he was just kind of half awake, and we have this juvenile Bigfoot here that came running right up to him, skidded, stopped, smiled at him, and then took off through the orchard. And it was hilarious, and it just turned him upside down when it happened.
Wow.
And he still didn't want to talk about it. He goes, nobody's going to believe me. He goes, I can't talk about this. Nobody's going to believe me. And so I took photographs of the footprints of it, and so I had that as evidence. And there was multiple witnesses that saw it. So he actually went on the air and talked about it. But yeah, it's funny because this place being a portal and there's the open door that opens on the mountain, we have a lot of that activity here. We have a lot of Bigfoot happening here. We have these, it even gets weird in that we have a pterodactyl type thing. I think it's called a pterosaurus that has the ball on the end of its tail. It's been seen by police. It's been seen by all kinds of people. We've seen it here a couple times, and it just freaked people out when they saw it. And I think it just came out the door when the door opened.
Yeah.
But
looking for a way back home now.
Yeah, they left the door open too long. But one guy drove off the road. It was eating a dead deer or something on the side of the road. And this guy saw it, and he drove off the road and crashed his car, and a cop was right behind him, and the cop saw it flying away. And all the guy could say was pterodactyl. He was so shaken up by it. And the cop told him, he goes, if there's anybody else, I would arrest him, but it's not, so.
Yeah. So one thing real quick on the Bigfoot Sasquatch thing. Do you think that these beings are telepathic?
Oh yeah, definitely. They're definitely telepathic.
Okay, yeah. Because I spent, I don't know, I've always, had some sort of connection with Sasquatch. I always, knew that it was out there, But in these past few months, I've been, doing some more research and looking at videos and trying to find something about Sasquatch. And in the midst of it, I know that my consciousness was focused on that, but I had this very, very vivid dream where two Sasquatches walked out onto one of my trails out in the woods, and I thought that it was. I mean, even when I woke up, I thought that it was a memory from something that happened yesterday. It was so vivid. Yeah. So I don't know if maybe.
Yeah, they can come to you in a dream state, or they can come to you. There's all different types of ways that they can come to you. So it's.
I tend to think that they primarily live in a different dimension, and they just travel through some doorway to come here and visit.
Well, they can phase in and out. They can when at will they can phase in and out. I saw one with the one that Clyde saw when it ran through the orchard. There was all these branches that were interlocking almost, and this guy ran right through them, and we kept waiting for the branches to move, and they didn't move. He went right through them. So they have an ability to become less dense physical or something, or even shapeshift.
Yeah, I don't think this is their primary state.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise we would find bones, graves, or
Yeah.
we would have found some hard physical evidence by now.
Well, we had some evidence up here. We had some hair, and it was about 3 feet long. And what was weird about it, when we had it analyzed by a fiber specialist and a forensic guy, they said, well, they go, this hair is, they saw how long it was, and it was silicon based, and it had some other elements in it.
Silicon based, really?
Yeah, but it was perfectly hollow. And the
Wow.
first thing they asked was, what is this, ET technology or something? They couldn't figure out what it was or where it came from. And I thought that was quite interesting, because that was their first guess, is that they said this can't be manufactured here.
Wow.
So I have a feeling there's more than one Sasquatch. I think there's a natural Sasquatch that's here that developed naturally, and it's more part of the human experience, and that's what the testing has shown, where they have gotten samples and DNA samples. And then there's I think it's an ET Sasquatch, which is like the big bad dog that they have.
Chewbacca.
Yeah, and they keep him around to keep people out of sensitive areas, or as protection or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So we've got a pretty rich, diverse culture that's living in here on planet Earth, whether inside the planet, and I tend to believe that we've got still have some hidden pockets on the surface of the planet that, in some way, shape, or form, they're able to hide themselves or shield themselves from being observed by our technologies.
Mm-hmm.
But from there, let's take a look at what we have visiting us from elsewhere, whether dimensionally or physically. Let's start with those that are here on the physical level. I mean, we've got the Andromedans and the Pleiadians and the Sirians and the ones that the ones that we're all familiar with, as far as, we can look up and see that star, and we know that there's a system there, and we have beings from that system that have been visiting this planet. What are the primary visitors that we have here on the physical level that are appearing physically?
Well, a lot of them can drop their ships down into our dimension, and let us see them. They have that technology. And the higher dimensions are always aware of the lower dimensions, but the lower dimensions are usually not aware of the dimensions above them. And it's just because of the more we rise to the occasion and develop ourselves spiritually, we start realizing these beings are walking right alongside of us, and we may not even know it. But there's with the Pleiadians, they have some physical Pleiadians. They're physical like us, and they have a lot of ones that have incarnated here, and are walking around in physical bodies. But they have the best way to describe it is there's beings that have physical ships. There are beings that have less dense physical ships and less dense physical bodies. There's beings that have energy bodies and energy ships. And there's beings that have magnetized light bodies and light ships, and they live in a holographic, universe. And then you got Merkabahs, which are just pure consciousness, and energy ships. So there's all different kinds. And what's interesting is, like, we have the ability to move up into our multidimensional selves, and we have other aspects of ourselves living lives on these other dimensions that we're not aware of. So we're multidimensional beings just as they are. And it just depends on your frequency and where you're at in the unified field. We all exist within this unified field. They're just have access to more of it and drawing more of it. And because they have access to more of the dimensions. But we can actually access the same thing by, raising our consciousness and evolving. And pretty soon we wouldn't even need a ship. We could bilocate and just go wherever we wanted. And there are people that can do that already.
Right. Yeah, I think that.
So is that? Excuse me. So is that like requirement for them to be, consciously advanced for them to be able to travel from star system to star system?
Well, I think I know some of the ships that we are back engineering now can actually jump dimensions. The only problem is the pilots go through a near-death experience, and then they don't want to work for the people anymore that they're working for. So, yeah, there is a direct relationship to consciousness. And, you really think about it, like the Arcturians have these ships, and they can morph that ship into 4 or 5 different ships. So how would you deal with that, seeing yourself on another ship and another ship and another ship? I mean, you'd go through an identity crisis if that happened.
Schizophrenia and 101.
Yeah. And so it's kind of interesting when you think about it on that level. It's like as you go up the everything changes, the rules change. The frequencies are different, and yeah. So definitely, you have to be pretty evolved and outside your ego and personality self to deal with some of these energies and just probably to be on these ships.
Yeah. Well, because and I asked that question because it makes me wonder if why do we have this negative influence?
Yeah, how can that negative influence be visiting here if they've had to develop themselves consciously to a certain level, to be able to deal with that near-death experience type experience?
Yeah. Well, they have lower level ships. A lot of that's all 4D stuff. It's 3D and 4D stuff. They haven't gotten off the wheel or past the psychic barrier, and they're still playing in those realms. And so they can come and mess around. They do have that kind of technology, but they're limited.
But that was my next question, was that, are those negative beings the ones that are, 3D, 4D, and are the fifth dimensional beings, is there actual physical technology that they use, or is it more of, their will manifesting?
It's like both. Their technology reflects their dimension, and it's far beyond ours, but they don't really, a lot of them don't need a ship. They can just, put their thought on where they want to go and appear. And, like I was saying before, the rules are different there. But they can drop down into the physical and they can walk among us in a magnetized light body that would look just like our bodies. But they'd just like vanish if they wanted to. They just go shift, raise their frequency and shift into another dimension.
Yeah, well, when if you think about it, what's the real difference if they're walking around in a magnetized light body versus our perceived physical body, which is actually just a magnetized light body?
Yeah,
we haven't been able to figure out how to transform out of.
Exactly. I mean, we're just magnetized light or condensed consciousness. If you want to go higher, is that basically that's all we are. And if we raise our frequencies, we can go into those energy bodies or light bodies. And I have some weird photographs of myself shifting. You can see right through me, and a lot of the people doing the classes here, the ambassador training and the other stuff, they actually will phase in and out, and it happens quite a bit where they just go out of this dimension and they just phase out. They're just a little bit higher dimension, but they don't even know it at the time. The people that are in the group can't see them, but they can still see the group, and everything seems normal to them. But it's a really interesting phenomena that happens.
Yeah. I've seen quite a few of those. I think I'm actually in one or two of those shots myself.
Yeah. You have the big heart orb over your head on one of them. I remember that picture.
Yeah.
At the International UFO Congress, when I was on stage, I morphed into just a green and blue light, and they actually photographed it. They got a photograph of it, but it's funny they didn't ask me back again. I thought that was interesting.
So James, the most real thing I've ever seen before, I seen out at your place. And I think it was my second trip out there. And there wasn't too many people out there, but you guys pulled out the night vision goggles.
Yeah.
And this big, huge, bright light comes flying down. And I looked at it through the goggles. And through the goggles, what I seen was this, looked like a cubed rectangle, a large cubed rectangle with 2 balls of light spiraling or, going around it.
Yeah.
And, that was probably one of my biggest, moments, to actually see something like that. And you could only see it through the goggles. You couldn't see it with your naked eye. It was just a ball of light. But, that's one of my go-to memories when I start thinking, oh man, this is just getting too far out. Is this stuff, am I going crazy? And then I got to stop and say, wait a minute, I know what I've seen,
Yeah.
but I don't know what I've seen. That's why I bring it up because I want to get your opinion on what it was that I actually witnessed.
It's probably like a higher, well, you're looking into the fourth dimension with those night vision goggles, into the infrared. And, so that's probably what you're seeing. And that happens a lot here. And, it's important to have your own experience. That's what I always tip it. Don't believe me. Come up and have your own experience. And then it's real for you. And, when Danny Dyer was up here and Robbie Williams, the singer, the pop star, and those guys, they came up here and they saw it for themselves. And that's what they said. They said, nobody can take this away from me. I saw it with my own eyes. And I don't care what you say. It's not a meteor. It's not a satellite. It was a ship. And have fun with that. They said, because, nobody's going to take this away from me. And that is important.
Oh, that's so important. I mean, otherwise it's all just hearsay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't. It can't be true for you until you have that experience. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any ideas of what that craft was that I seen out there?
There's so many of them. I'm not sure who that was, especially the rectangle one. I know a lot of the big triangle ones are Andromedans, and then we've built a back engineered one ourselves. I have seen some weird cube-shaped ones, but I'm not sure who that is. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah. All right, so the shadow culture. What are they showing us out there? I mean, when we're out there sky watching, or we have these experiences. I know that they that shadow element has gone into a lot of different areas and have got their fingers in a lot of pies as far as the way they're affecting people's experience and what they're perceiving, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the results that you're seeing out there that are coming from that element?
Are you talking about like the Black Ops guys?
Right.
Psychotronics and all that other stuff? Yeah, there's just incredible psyops stuff going on, and mind control, and just, they have technology that they can actually send to you, your energy signature, the venom from a cobra or whatever. They have that kind of technology. They can stop your heart, or they can transmit any disease they want. And I'm pretty sure they can do it by satellite. If not, they can do it with other equipment. And these guys are just really out of control. They need to be reeled in. But they're wreaking a lot of havoc out there and taking out a lot of people that are trying to bring this information out. But, you've got that group and they have their technology, but the hammer's about ready to come down on them because the benevolent ones are here now. And just recently, 11th dimensional ship has appeared, which is just massive. And all the other guys are excited about that because it's like daddy's home, you might say,
mm-hmm.
and or mother's home, or what's a big old mothership. And so there's going to be some huge changes from here on out energetically. And if you're not frequency specific to the evolution of Earth, you won't be able to stay here.
Yeah. With this shadow deal, I've seen 3 or 4 physical ships, daytime sightings that look, they were physical. They looked like they were made out of, some sort of metal, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, that why would they be flying their ships around in the daytime over a populated area to where you can see this and it's not a conventional aircraft, And I think that for me, I think that it was, something made by, this group.
McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah, because I didn't have that inner feeling inside.
Exactly.
It's almost that, I seen it, and it was amazing to see something flying that doesn't look like it should be flying, but at the same time it came with an ominous feeling.
Yeah, we've had that here. We've had ships fly over, and they're perfect triangles. They looked. Everybody was screaming, yelling, "Oh, it's a ship!" They're all excited and everything. I go, "That's ours," and people got really angry at me. They got really pissed off, and I said, "No, it's." I go, "There's no consciousness on that ship." I said, "There's nothing, no energetic signature. There's nothing." And I said, "That's just got to be one of ours, some back engineered thing." And sure enough, when it finally went over, she could barely hear the engine on it, but it looked just, it was a triangle. It looked just like a triangle and everything else, but you could tell, it wasn't what people thought it was.
Yeah, well, it just makes me wonder if that, it doesn't seem like they would want, to be seen, over a populated area. So why would they fly it over a populated area during the daytime where people can see it? Unless there's, off of that group, there's, there might be a smaller group that wants this to come out, that wants us that wants the population to know what's actually happening.
Yeah, there is. There is a lot of people within the secret space fleet are all coming out now and bringing that information out. Randy Kramer, Captain K, is bringing out a lot of that information, and so they're fed up. Even there's a lot of people in NASA and Boeing and everywhere. They're just saying, you know what? Let's come out with this. Let's come out with the truth. We're tired of the deception and playing this deception game. And so, it's and I think that's what a lot of that is happening, and I think every once in a while they forget they power down, and you can see the ships and they go, whoops,
right.
And they fly, because when a lot of those ships, when you power them up, they turn into a light principle, basically, when they fly. So.
Yeah, for the longest times I had the full-blown opinion and knowing that, humanity is ready. We are ready for this truth, for this to be out there.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, I'm not so sure anymore, James. I mean, looking out there at, the collective and the way that people are acting on the planet, I truly am not so sure that we are, as a collective, as the 99% anyways, I don't know that they actually are ready for that higher truth.
No, it's kind of disheartening, you really think, that people are ready, but from what I've seen, and I keep running this over and over again, it's that they keep playing this game and they allow themselves to be, manipulated into the past and into the darker aspects of this, and they want all the, the fear and the high-tech wars and everything, the sensationalism, is what they're going for. And it's sad that that's going on, but, they did a Time CNN poll back in the 80s, and like over 80% of the people said they believe UFOs exist, and there is a government cover-up. So, and they did one in, I think in Texas after they had that big flyover, and it was like 99% of the people,
right,
believed in UFOs and that there's a cover-up. So, I mean, cover-up's over, so let's move on. Who are they and why are they here, and how can they help us evolve?
Yeah. I agree with that 100%, but I just don't, I just see if Ramon tells a story about, one of his trips there, he said himself, where he was in one of the huts and he woke up in the middle of the night and he saw a light flashing in his room. And it was blinking on and off, on and off, on and off. And he was like, oh my God, they're here. There's somebody here. There's somebody in the room with me. It's an alien in the room with me. And he had psyched himself so far up. His heart was pounding out of his chest. And I mean, he was just freaking himself out. And he finally got up the nerve to turn around and look. And it was the alarm clock. It was the digital clock that was flashing on his clock. And just that little story kind of shows me, we all say that we're ready for this higher truth and for for the UFO and alien reality to become part of our lives. But when it actually, comes down to it, how many people are going to be having to go change their shorts right off the bat?
Yeah. Well, we've had that here I was doing a sweat lodge once, and I had a lot of elders here, and they come here and hang out quite a bit. And so we were in the lodge, and sure enough, this this one woman's going, I want them to land. I want to get on the ship. She was like really adamant about it. And we said, I go, okay, well, after we do the sweat lodge, I said, they do come in low, so be ready. And so we came out of the sweat lodge, and this big, bright, like pink orange ship came in really low, and she went running for a tree, and was hiding under a tree and hanging onto it, And so we say we're ready, but when it comes down to it, there's a succession of events that has to happen, a little at a time before we're really ready to deal with it, face-to-face contact.
You think that's what we've been going through the last, 30, 40 years is a desensitization process?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all the prognosticators and, so many different reports that have come through from people who have had contact and are the channelings and all sorts of different information that is coming through has been saying that between the years actually from this year, 2016 through 2020, there is going to be some amazing unveilings and truths exposed on the planet. So
yeah, it's already happening between now and 2017. It's going to be in your face. It's already happening. You can't deny it anymore, and people are trying to, but they're just falling apart. They're just fooling themselves.
Right. So you've got your conference coming up here next month, right?
Yeah, I've got quite a few things coming up. We're open for Skywatch now. We've done all the repairs and everything. Memorial Day weekend, I'll be teaching the ambassador training, which is always fun. And that's going to be an intense one. And then I'll be at Contact in the Desert this year, and that's June 3rd through the 6th. And then after that, on July 4th, we're going to have the big conference here, the ESETI conference. And the lineup of people we've got is like phenomenal. We have some amazing, we've got myself, Jim Mars.
Jim's going to be there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jim Mars, Laura Eisenhower, Winston Strout, Sharon Leishner, Patty Greer is going to be here. Peter Maxwell from Australia, Sol Rita from Australia, Swami Bayandananda is going to be here. Cassandra Dunn. We've got all these panels too. We've got a UFO experiencer panel, a healers panel, and then we're working on a free energy panel right now too with some other people. But we still have the early bird registration too. It ends May 28th. But if people go to private invitation, eseti.com, you can get all the information there.
Awesome. Elfie and I will be there this year for sure.
Great.
Definitely looking forward to it, and we'll definitely have to sit down with you and many of the other speakers there. I haven't met Jim in person yet. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, he's a character. I love Jim.
We had a great time having him on the show here a couple of years ago.
Great.
So, what is it about the UFO and alien card that is so important to our own personal growth? I mean, why can't we just do the yoga or the inner work and the meditations and et cetera, and ascend or be done with it? Why is that element so important to our own personal growth here?
Well, basically, if you're still dealing in fear or ignorance, you're it just doesn't function. That you're not functioning on all cylinders. So basically we need to be enlightened as to our true history and our greater family of man in the stars and things like that, which really helps accelerate our growth process. And we have to get out of the fear, of engaging higher dimensional beings and higher consciousness and energy, and mastering fear is a biggie, so, if we live in a little yoga box, or a little Christian box, or a little whatever box, a little Buddha box, if we have those little boxes that we live in, we're still in a little box, and it's time to expand out of the box and go beyond.
Yeah. So James, why is this? It seems for me, it's really, it's easy to have contact, with different entities in the dream state, or lucid dreaming, right? And in those states, there's no fear that's accompanied by it.
Yeah.
But like that story that Tom was telling about Ramon, in the waking state, where does this fear come from?
Well, basically, we're our body. We have past life trauma. We have birth trauma. We have a lot of the past life trauma comes from being traumatized. Like you might have had a past life in the Orion system when the Orion Wars went on with the reptilians and the Greys, and there's all kinds of things that could have happened in the past that are triggering us. So we've got to clear that out. And people naturally have a fear of the unknown, and change. That's pretty natural. And when a ship comes down, you have to master your fear. You can't go, okay, who's on there? What kind are you? What are you going to do? And things like that. Is like, it is good to be discerning, but we have to master our fear, or we're not going to see any of these things. I mean, beings appear here that I've seen that most people would run. I mean, they would, if they appeared to them, they would just turn around and start running, and I stayed, I didn't run. I mean, they look pretty weird, but they actually turned out to be very advanced beings.
So is it more like a physical response in the body?
Yeah, you have a flight or fight response, and you have to control that. And when you develop your inner sensitivity, you can actually sense the energy and the intent of a being that's appearing to you. So it's all about self-mastery.
Exactly. I agree with that one 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's extremely important. And opening ourselves up to the broader and wider possibilities that are out there. Mm-hmm. And wherever your imagination can take you, the reality is going to follow.
Yeah.
It's such a creative universe that we live in. And I mean, from what I have experienced personally, if you can think of it, if you had the thought about something or someone or something, it's most likely out there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. We have an old saying, the mind in which you seek is the mind in which you connect.
Right. Exactly.
And so if you're seeking it out with a fearful programmed mind, I mean, that's what you're going to connect. If you're afraid of something, all this negativity happening, then that's the reality that you're going to experience, But if you rise in consciousness and focus on love and joy and bliss, and you start connecting with higher dimensional beings.
Yeah. Well, so when we say the term or the word alien or extraterrestrial, is that like a symbiotic relationship with the word, extra dimensional or interdimensional?
I really don't like the word alien, basically. There are some that would fit into that category, but I'd rather call them the greater family of man or higher dimensional beings, But, some are totally alien to us, to our world, and they come here and they have different agendas, and some are positive and some aren't,
Right.
Yeah. But it seems for is it the majority that are, higher dimensional beings that, that we interact with?
Yeah. I mean, people call them trans-dimensional beings or interdimensional beings. Everybody has a different name for them. But the alien one kind of sounds
alien.
I've never.
The problem, what they've done is Hollywood has attached alien to
exactly a lot of baggage with that word.
Yeah, to greys or creatures that are going to eat you or lay eggs in you and pop out your stomach and things like that. And unfortunately, that's Hollywood's done that. So I don't really like the word alien so much.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of baggage associated with a lot of the labels that we put on things, and
exactly.
It's our I guess it's one of our shortcomings is that we always try to classify things and put them in their nice little pile. This one goes here and this one goes there.
Exactly.
And it's much broader and it's a much wider vista of reality than, we're able to comprehend inside this meat bag. This meat suit that we're wearing right now. I mean, we're pretty limited on how expansive our minds can be within this form. Just in light of that, knowing that has been one of the best boons for me in contemplation that I've come across is knowing that what my thought processes are in the waking state are pretty limited from my culture, my experiences, my vocabulary, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely opened me up to a larger reality just by the own awareness within myself that there's much more out there than I'm able to comprehend. So what do you see for the rest of this year? I mean, there's a lot of I've sensed energetically shifts in for lack of a better term, cosmic rays. The energy that's coming into the planet now has got a really interesting flavor to it, and I really sense kind of a shift back in. Oh God, when was it now? I guess it would have been just right shortly after the beginning of this year. Back in January, I sensed a significant shift, and it's just been it's almost a moment by moment thing. It's constantly a shifting experience, but there was a real significant shift right around the beginning of this year, energetically that really made me much more optimistic. I mean, I was getting kind of pessimistic towards the end of last year. And after the beginning of the year, I really tried to tune myself energetically into what was coming in and what was going on out there, and it really had a different flavor to it. So what are you sensing, and what are you hearing from your contacts on energetically what's coming into the planet now, and what's on the board or in our cosmic weather forecast energetically?
Well, I mean, we're going through massive changes on every level. So there's going to be some major social, economic, and earth changes. They just had 40 quakes right here well, they've got Mount St. Helens is quaking, Rainier, and Mount Hood. Mount Hood is just going crazy. And so, the whole ridge here is coming to life, the Cascade Ridge. So there's all kinds of things happening. We're getting hit by major solar winds. We had a solar sector boundary crossing in April 29th where we went through a fold in the heliospheric current sheet, which is really crazy. And it's a vast wavy area where there's just a lot of regions of opposite polarity. So we went through all these craziness that we're still in right now. And we're getting these massive impacts, and it doesn't make sense because there'll be a CME come, but then it has so much more power behind it because of some other things going on. And I know NASA is showing their charts of cosmic rays and, gamma rays and everything else are just off the charts that are hitting the Earth right now. So that's going to create a massive change in consciousness. It affects the bioelectric fields around the body, kicks on the pituitary gland, all these other things, creates DNA changes. And it's also going to create, severe weather, crazy weather. It's going to create an increase in volcanic and earthquake activity. And the Earth is going to expand. She's growing, evolving, going to the next level. So there's going to be changes on every level, and it's increasing, and we're in the middle of it right now, and I think it's going to really increase for the next couple of years.
So, are you privy to any information on any collective epiphanies that are on the boards or slated to happen here in the near future?
Well, I know disclosure is going to happen. That's one thing. I think people are going to finally say enough's enough in this political mess, that we're going on to. There's certain people running. I hate to get into the political agenda, but everything is going to be exposed there. And people that you thought were going to be in the running or not, are going to be taken out. Energetically, but exposed. Just that's what the energy is doing. But we're going to go through a whole complete shift. And I know, we've got, everybody talks about the dragon family, the white dragon, the red dragon, all these other things. But the gold dragon family is at the top of the charts right here, and they're the ones that move the gold and make things happen. And there is a system in place where, they're going to just trade out the Federal Reserve note for a Treasury note backed by gold, and the Chinese are helping us out on that. But they have extreme resistance with the cabal, the Illuminati boys, and the banksters, and it should have already been done, but it's dragging behind. They had to pull out some major players and put some new people in. But we're in the middle of that. There's people saying it's already done. The Republic is restored, and it hasn't. It's not done yet because they haven't signed off on it at the top. So, and I'm in touch with the top people that are involved in this, and they're letting me know. So, it is close. It is going in a good direction, but it's not done yet.
Right. It's gonna create a little bit of turmoil out here on the streets too when that finally trickles down to our end. But it's a necessary thing that we have to go through. What we're in right now is completely unsustainable. It's so top heavy that it's going to tip over.
Exactly.
If we don't intervene soon and something doesn't shift soon, then it's going to be a really traumatic event when it finally does. And we don't need that.
No, definitely don't.
I think we've probably experienced that a few times in our history already, and and we don't want to go through that again. So
no. That's Hey, I was just curious, how long is the show tonight?
Well, I was just kind of focusing in on wrapping up for the show.
Oh, okay,
so,
great.
We've touched on some good stuff, and we always love having you on the show, and
great.
And picking your brain, so to say, on what you know and the information that's coming through to you. Hey, who is you normally have one or two beings that you're intimately contacting with. I know you have Cass has always been one of your go-to guys, and but any other beings out there that you've been intimately in contact with?
Well, Baba G's been playing a very important role here, and lately he's been coming in really strong. The Marys, both Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, have been coming in quite a bit. Kuan Yin has been showing herself, and Ezekiel, he's one of the main characters. A lot of Palladians have been coming in, Blaji and Plamaria, some of the other ones have been coming in quite a bit. The Syrians have been coming in, Bagit, and the seventh dimensional ones, Bakal is one of the main ones that we've been working with, and he's a 17-foot tall lion being. So there's all kinds of different beings we've been working, and we have a lot of inner earth beings starting to show up, and lately these ninth dimensional Anunnaki and 11th dimensional beings, which are, I guess, they're what we would call Elohim or something like that. They're very advanced. Have shown up.
Yeah, those ones are really intrigued me in light of some other stuff that I've researched in the past about some of the originators that are returning to kind of clean up the sandbox that they kind of left in a mess.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what's happening.
Yeah. So there's pieces of the puzzle that I wasn't able to quite put in their place years ago. As things are starting to take shape and form themselves a little bit better, and I'm able to place them within my own self a little bit clearer. So that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, James, if you want to run through what you got going this summer again real quick before we sign off here. and then we'll wrap her up.
All right. So we've got the Sky Watches going on, every weekend. Then we've got that happening. And then the Memorial Day weekend, we have the May 27th through the 29th. I'll be doing the ambassador training. And then I'll be doing Contact in the Desert in June 3rd through the 6th. And then also, too, we've got, the ongoing counseling here and the other stuff. But, you can go to eSETI. I actually go to private invitation, eseti.com. Or you can go to eseti.org to find out more about, what's happening. A lot of the stuff hasn't been updated on the site, but it will be.
All right. So private invitation at eseti.org or .com.
.com.
And I'm just trying to get all this so I can get all the links on the info tab here. And the good old eseti.org is always a good resource. So
exactly.
We will have all the links down on the info tab here, guys, for you out there listening. And I would definitely urge you, if you haven't had your own personal experience where you've seen something in the sky that is not a satellite, is not an airplane, is not a hot air balloon, is not something that is, something that you see every day, all the time. One of those things that we made, all about, is on the news, blah, blah, blah. One of those things, something outside of those. You have not had that experience. I would definitely urge you to take the trip over to Trout Lake, Washington, visit James over there at ESETI Ranch, and have your own experience. You will see something that is outside of the normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill, third-dimensional crap. I mean, every single time I've gone out there and sat in the field to skywatch, I have seen something that did not fit within that third-dimensional bracket.
Yeah, and it's not only seeing it; it's actually feeling it.
Oh, exactly.
It's some sort of emotional connection that's just it's so real.
Seeing it like you described earlier, LFE, it gives you something to fall back on whenever that shadow of doubt starts to slip in and starts to kick this stuff out and say, no, it's bullshit. You can fall back on that personal experience that you had, and you can bring yourself back into focus, into a larger reality. So
great.
Good.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on the show, and we'll have to do it again soon.
All right, James, thanks a lot, man. And I want to thank everybody out there for listening. We are the 100th Monkey Radio. We love you guys. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Namaste, my friends.